and welcome to Spotlight. And we're here today with, let's face it, a production legend in David Sumnall from Middle Child. Hello, David.
First time I've ever been called a legend, I think, there, Brendan.
You're a legend. Talk to us about the process of coming up with an idea for a show.
In that genre that we work in, the most success we've had is when we get access to something or someone or somewhere. So RSPCA are a big client of ours. We got access to RSPCA pretty much 10 years ago now. Just started working with them on adverts and small projects, and then it progressed into TV shows. And because we had that access, when our first ever commission was with Sky One, they wanted an RSPCA show, and we had an RSPCA show. They didn't particularly want to work with Middle Child. They didn't know us. We hadn't made anything. We didn't know them, whatever. But our show that we were pitching fitted a slot that they had. They at the time, they'd commissioned 3 animal series, and they wanted a 4th. So it landed at the right time. So I would say, if you're setting up an indie, and if you're setting up a factual indie, getting access to somewhere that that broadcaster wants is absolutely crucial. Fast forward a few years. Last year we pitched access to TfL. We had access to TfL, Transport for London, on the tubes and on the buses, and we took it into Channel 5, and they said, we want access to TfL, we'll commission this. And literally in the room, they gave us the commission. So it's a crucial, especially when you're starting out, if you've got something that the broadcaster wants that nobody else can give them, then you stand a really good chance of getting it away and building a company from there.
Would you also say that the key to setting up a successful production company is to set yourself in a genre?
100%. 100%. I watch every single factual show that I can. It's what I've watched every single documentary. I've watched every single program. It's what I love, and it's what I do. And to be able to turn that passion into a production company and into a job is I think the commissioners can see through you if you're pitching something you don't like, or you wouldn't watch yourself or whatever. So yeah, I think if you've got a passion, if you absolutely love writing comedy, or absolutely love sci-fi, or then concentrate on that.
A lot of people, especially when they're starting out, they don't really know how to propose something, write a treatment, do a pitch, and then how to approach a broadcaster. Tell them how to do it.
Historically, 10 years ago, you could write a 1-page document, nice title, how many hours you're proposing, fair dodging wars, 4 times 60, and then a brief about a couple of nice pictures, and a brief about the thing. Fast forward, now you have to go, because the camera technology has got so cheap and the editing facilities have got so cheap, the broadcasters really do expect you to go and shoot and show them who these people are, and prove to them that you've got the access. I think historically, pre-Middle Child, I'd actually worked on a couple of things where we were pitching into a broadcaster without actually having the access, and that's really dodgy ground to be on. Trying to get the broadcaster to agree to something and then going to try and get the access is it goes on. I think I've heard it still goes on. It's something that we don't do. So proposal used to work, and then the broadcaster used to give you £5,000 development money, and then you could go and shoot your taster. Nowadays, they just expect you to really go and do it yourself, especially in this genre.
Just go in with actually a section of footage, maybe sort of 20 minutes of what you plan to do, maybe not that long.
Do you know what we do? We shoot the pre-titles. So in a normal documentary, program, there'll be a minute, 90 seconds of the best bits of the show, of the series, and then the title comes up afterwards. And actually, that pre-titles, the voiceover script outlines what the series is. The shots are always the best shots. The upsync from the contributors is always the best upsync, and you've got the title. And actually, if you've not convinced the commissioner in that first 90 seconds, then you're on. If you need to explain something in a lot of detail, and it's very complicated, you're not going to get somebody, reading the TV Times or the Radio Times or on the EPG. If the title's not catchy, you're not going to tune in. So first off, the title's absolutely key. Then the first paragraph, in the proposal, and likewise with the taster, the first 90 seconds. And it's a really, really, really good lesson to learn or to teach is, can you write that first 60 seconds of a factual TV show? How do you nail that in 60 seconds in maybe 100 words? I don't quite know. You've got to absolutely sell this product. There's some brilliant ones out there. If you watch I think GPs Behind Closed Doors that a company called Knickerbocker make, their pre-title for GPs Behind Closed Doors is just beautiful. Same with Blast's Saving Lives at Sea on BBC Two. I'm a pre-title nerd, and if you watch a good pre-title, you're just like, wow, they've got me. Because the rest of the program is slower and you have to stay with it, but a pre-title is key.
So then you've written your proposal, you've made your taster. How do you get it to a broadcaster? How will you get it in front of that? Because those commissioning editors, as you say, having met many of them over the years, they're always like, I'm too busy. Especially if you're new, it's even harder. So how do you get it in front of that person?
Commissioners don't get back to us that quickly now, and I can pick up the phone to a few, but it's still tough. The one thing that pricks their ears up is the access. So if in the subject heading of an email it said, I have access to Lidl, or I have access to British Airways, or then they will be like, oh wow. Channel 5 has just done an amazing series called Warship. It was based on a warship. I mean, I'd have commissioned that tomorrow. I don't care who. And actually, that was I think I'm right in saying that was a small production company that aren't Endemol or The Garden or they just got some incredible access. So you've really, really got it. It's all about the idea. You're selling a product to the broadcaster, but to get that access, you've got to understand the channel. So you've got to really, really dig deep into each channel to know what they're looking for and what works for them and what's working in general in television.
So you've got that golden ticket, you've been commissioned. What's next in terms of you're now going to start looking for production talent and crew? Is that what you're going to do? And tell us about the role of the executive producer there.
So as a production company, depends how small you are, but you would essentially have someone like me who's the owner and acts as an exec across the productions. You'd probably have some kind of production management, so somebody that looks after the money and the budgets and the schedules and so on, so a production manager or a production exec. And then if you're lucky enough to win a commission, they would expect you to staff, the broadcasters will probably want to know who the director is, and they would want to look at some CVs, or they would put some names forward that they've worked with. And then you would look to crew up under that. So in a typical structure for a documentary series, you've got the exec, which would be me. You've got a head of production, which is a senior production manager that looks after multiple programs. So head of production, and then under her or him, you would have production manager and a production coordinator. And then under the exec in the editorial line, you would have the series director or series producer, producer directors that shoot, maybe if you're shooting, and then you would have assistant producers, researchers, and then probably a runner. And then post-production, you'd have edit producers, which write the scripts, and editors that cut the footage. And that's the kind of structure you'd have. And then as an exec, I suppose as an exec, you have the ultimate responsibility. So you will, the team will make it on a day-to-day basis. Traditionally, there'll be a line in the budget for me for 1 day a week, so I can manage multiple productions, a bit like the head of production. And I'll be involved at every stage. I'll speak to the commissioners. I will speak to compliance. I will sit in an edit once there's a rough cut ready. And once there's a rough cut after maybe 3 or 4 weeks, I will sit in the edit and I will give my notes ahead of it going to the channel and them giving their notes. So yeah, ultimately, if anything goes wrong, it's the exec's responsibility to answer those problems. All the glory goes to the director if everything goes right, but quite rightly, you know, they've worked on it and it's their thing. But as an exec, the buck stops with you, you know. And if we go over budget, then I've got to, you know, deal with that with the head of production. If there's a problem with a talent, you know, we've worked with some talent before, and I've got to deal with that. So yeah, that's the role of an exec.
You talked about budgeting, scheduling, funding, doing that correctly. Obviously, as you've said, the executive producer takes, but whose job really is it to schedule correctly and budget correctly on a program? Say, take your restoration workshop or your dog rescuers or Joe Brown's kitten rescue. Who is it? The same person does that or different people?
So the head of production will set the budget and schedule alongside myself. So middle child's slightly odd in that I own the company and I'm the exec. So it might be that you get into a position or other company structures, the owners of the company won't necessarily get involved at that level, or they won't exec the programs or whatever. But so I will always sit down with the head of production and go through the budget and go through the schedule. And they're quite big decisions. You know, do you run 3 edits with 2 edit producers, or can you shorten the schedule by having 4 edits and 2 edit producers? And you know, the money keeps moving, the price per episode keeps changing, and ultimately the broadcaster has set the price. You know, £100,000 an hour. You've got to hit £100,000 an hour, right? We need to lose this person and lose that person, and combine these roles, or shorten the edits. You know, maybe for a factual hour, it's a 5-6 week edit. Can we do it in 4 weeks? You know, can we cut this in 4 weeks? So it ultimately it will be the head of production that has all the experience on scheduling and budgeting, and they're sort of like the whiz on Excel and whatever. And then as the company owner, I will make sure that we're happy with that, and what profit are we making? Where are we making profit? You know, on a budget, you will have a production fee, which is essentially your profit line, which is normally around 10%. So you'll make profit. But if I exec programs, for example, the line in the budget for exec goes against my salary. So you know, there's certain places where you will make money, and that's got to be right, because you've got to make sure that you're as well as making a production, as well as making a product for a broadcaster that people see, and you've got the credits on the end and it's all glossy, you're also running a company. And you want to, there's no point in making a production and going 20 grand over budget and going bust the next week, which can easily happen.
David Sumnall, thank you very much. I mean, that was incredible, brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for being part of the show.
Love to help you, Brendan.
Thank you very much indeed, David. Thank you.